So I understand that it can be a little bit funny watching the Aces implode. It can be funny watching the Aces implode. I'll say it. It can be funny. If you're not a fan of the Aces, just in general, like if you are not a fan of a team, watching them implode is always fun if you're not a fan of that team. Especially if you're not, don't particularly like them. But what's happening to the Aces is mental. It is absolutely mental. I don't know what's going on. So before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 43,000 subscribers by the end of the week. And right now we are at 42,864. We are 136 away. We're trying to do that by the end of this week. If we can get to 42,900 by the end of the day, that would be insane. But according to Ramona Shelburne, Alysha Clark is gone. Alysha Clark is gone. 3-time WNBA champion Alysha Clark is returning to the Storm. Clark won championship with the Storm in 2018-2020 and played a vital role for the Aces. They won a title in 2023. And by the way, this is a telling sign for the Aces that obviously Tiffany Hayes got her money. She's a little bit different. Like a lot of people are blaming, say, AJ, blaming Becky Hammond, and that's not the reason. That is literally not the reason. The reason is that all these players went to the Aces to ring chase. They did. If you are a player like a Tiffany Hayes, if you're one of these vets, Elena Deladon wanted to go to the Aces. She wanted to be traded to either the Aces or the Mercury. These people wanted to ring chase. And they clearly are seeing they're not ring chasing if they go back to Vegas. If you're Alysha Clark is probably annoyed being like, oh, damn, I could have gone to Indiana. Or damn, why did Minnesota not have the cap space? She's 38. She's ring chasing. It's not going to happen in Vegas. So that's fine. What she left to Tiffany Hayes, Sydney Colson, and Kate Martin, and Alysha Clark gone. Like, are they going to crash out after this one too? Nope, only when they join the Fever. So, obviously, the Seattle Storm getting the number 2 pick for the inefficient Jewel Lloyd. No investigations for that. But Sydney Colson going to the Fever, need investigations to be done. Madness. What's happening to the Aces? The Aces trying their best. Jesus. Like, I'm not joking when I say this when it comes to Alysha Clark. Storm had a big piece. This is huge for the Storm, by the way. This shores up the Storm's bench. She's probably making similar-ish money to Sammy Wickham. And she's been there and won. Becky wasn't lying when she said the team would look different. Man, this team isn't even remotely similar. It's not even remotely similar. And they've lost a lot in Tiffany Hayes. They've lost a lot in Alysha Clark. Alysha Clark is one of those players that just plays anywhere. She's like a 2-guard who has enough experience to be able to play the 4 at times. I watched her play the 5 at times for this team. There were lineups where Asia was playing on the perimeter and she was almost playing like a small ball 5. I've seen her guarding 5s. Like, Alysha Clark did a bit of everything. Like, you're not losing what makes this team tick, which is Asia Wilson. You're not losing that. You're not losing Becky Hammond, who, for all of her flaws, she's still a good coach. She is a good coach. She knows the game of basketball. Look, you do not last the guts of a decade beside Greg Popovich if you're not a good basketball coach. And, like, I don't think people realize that. I genuinely don't think people realize that. Like, it's genuinely just one of these situations where it's like, the Aces were a team built on a couple of stars and ring chasers. Simple as that. They had their big 4, and the rest of that team were willing to take less money to play for the Aces to chase rings. And that's just a matter of fact. And they are no longer in the ring chasing business. So losing Alysha Clark, you've lost your bench. The team doesn't have a freaking bench anymore. The bench is gone. The bench is absolutely just gone. And Clark is such a big loss because I think Clark's a huge gain for the Storm. I would have loved. Look, imagine a hypothetical world where Katie Lou Samuelson, Lynn Dunn, did not commit basketball terrorism and give her a 2-year contract and give her a 1-year contract. And I would not have minded giving $110K or something to Alysha Clark to play the backup power forward. Like, because I think she can do that, her and Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, just because of their positional versatility. Like, Hull doesn't really have positional versatility, but Sophie Cunningham and Clark's positional versatility and high IQ. I think the two of them have to, like, back up 3-4. And then obviously you could use some of the money to buy a backup 5, but that's just all hypothetical because Katie Lou Samuelson is still under contract with the Indiana Fever for another year. Lynn Dunn, we will never forget this. If this team does not win a championship because they have 11 players and they don't have a backup center, Lynn Dunn, this is your fault. This is your fault, Lynn Dunn. Like, the worst GMing job in the history of the sport. People were like, the only reason like they got back-to-back number 1 overall picks is because of Lynn Dunn's decisions. But I'm like, yeah, you chose to get Katie Lou. You literally had the number 1 pick. You knew you were drafting Caitlin Clark, and you chose to give Katie Lou Samuelson a max. You were like, oh, let's see what she has who's she good with in Iowa. Oh, Hannah Stolke, rim runner supreme, runs the floor, shoots the ball, or doesn't really shoot the ball, but like can score off running. Kate Martin, a high IQ runner. Gabby Marshall, a like pest of a defender. Sydney Fulter looks garbage right now. All she did was cut. Like, you've got a bunch of people that play with high motors and cut. So you wanted to sign an unathletic, mediocre shooter coming off pregnancy. Lynn Dunn. Either way though, let's not make an Alysha Clark video a Lynn Dunn rant. Alysha Clark's such a big loss for the Aces, and she is one of those players that makes literally every team better. And that's the reason why the Aces ticked. Was they had a bench lineup. If you put all the bench players in, they were going to struggle. But they had bench players that if you put one bench player in with the starters, they lost nothing. Tiffany Hayes at times made the team better. But like when you put Alysha Clark in, the team did not lose much. When you put Coulson in, the team didn't lose much. Coulson played some big minutes. Like even, obviously what she did in the finals was insane. But like what she did in the Chicago Sky game, the one where the Aces actually lost, no one could guard Kennedy harder than Coulson. And Coulson literally almost single-handedly brought them back into that game. But, yeah, if you are a fan of the Aces, dear Lord, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say after losing Alysha Clark. This is, in my opinion, this is the biggest shock of them all. Like, we all kind of knew. Well, no, it's not the biggest shock. Sorry, it's the biggest shock other than Sydney Coulson. We all knew Tiffany Hayes, the situation with her. As soon as it was very evident that she was getting a max somewhere else, no, Tiffany Hayes was going to take that max. People are like, oh, she left because of Hammond and AJ. It's like, no, why? There's no need to have an excuse for why Tiffany Hayes left. She was going to have to play for a minimum in Vegas, or she would get a near max in Golden State, come off the bench in Vegas, or be the main number 1 option for Golden State. Obviously, she's going to choose the latter. But yeah, that is, and especially because she's not going to win a freaking ring with the Aces. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. That is the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.